Hey there everyone, this is Nick here with Heat Haze Gaming, here to cover a forgotten gem today, published by the legendary publisher Square-Enix and developed by developer G-Craft, and that is none other than the Front Mission series. A kind of forgotten hidden gem that nobody really seems to talk about nowadays, probably due to lackluster sequels and spin-offs of the series completely abandoning the strategy RPG genre that the series is known for. So I saw the sequels and decided to pick up the series at its root, and well, you'll see in the review. Alright, let's get into it. Thanks for watching. Front Mission is a turn-based strategy RPG produced by G-Craft, the company responsible for the first two Arc the Lad games. They were assisted in part by Square, who went on to publish the game. The game was almost turned down, however, because it was so outside of Square's usual practices. However, after seeing a prototype, Square agreed to publish it because they wanted to broaden their repertoire and provoke new thoughts from their developing staff. They also assigned Yoshitaka Amano as the chosen character designer for the game. While his designs make for some interesting cover art for the Final Fantasy games, it makes for some odd character profile pictures that kind of clash with the gritty mech game. Regardless, the game was produced in 1995 for the Super Famicom in Japan. The US would not receive the first entry in the series until it was remastered for the Nintendo DS in 2007. Front Mission 3 was actually the first game in the series to come out in the West. The Nintendo DS version adds more missions to the original campaign and adds another scenario from the perspective of the other side of the war. I only played through the OCU scenario, which is the original scenario for the SNES, so that's what we'll be reviewing. The graphics are lifted almost straight out of the original. The backgrounds are detailed, the mechs or wanzers are well crafted and buried. The character models... Okay, moving on. Front Mission is set on Huffman Island in the future, where the military utilizes giant mechs known as wanzers. Wanzer is derived from the word Wanderpanzer, which means walking armor. Tensions are high on Huffman Island as there is already a skirmish between the two superpowers on the island before. The OCU, Oceania Cooperative Union, employs the main character Royd, an elite Wanzer pilot captain, on a recon mission of factories of UCS, the Unified Continental States, which results in the second Huffman conflict. The story follows Royd and a band of mercenaries throughout the conflict. As the group travels over the island, they pick up different characters when visiting bars or finding them in the arena. The characters don't have too much dialogue, but the characters all play a certain role and offer a different perspective of the war and its many outcomes. By the end, you have a motley crew of mercenaries, hackers, reporters, civilians, terrorists, and more. Roy doesn't really expand upon being a raging renegade, but in the war, he only fights to suit his own ends of vengeance, but he plays the role well enough. The plot doesn't get too intricate, but there is a plot twist that I never saw coming in a no-nonsense mech game. Plot isn't bad, but where the game really shines is in its satisfying gameplay loop. Complete a mission, get new parts, customize your wanzers for the next mission, complete the mission, get new parts, repeat. There isn't much to do as far as variety goes outside of tactical combat. You typically get mission briefings from the military war detailing where the next mission will take place, mission objectives, and get a general idea of the enemy force. The only real dialogue besides that in the missions is found by talking to the patrons of the local bars you visit. Some give you pointers on the next mission, some give you insight on the progress of the war and its effects, others join your cause. It's an interesting way of inserting inserting more exposition into the game where there really isn't too much to be had. Other than that, it's the Wanzer shop, run by a hippie looking character that sells you all kinds of stuff. This is where you will be spending the majority of your time, outside of the tactical missions, that is. Typically, you will complete a mission, then get access to new parts. There is plenty of customization to be had here, almost too much. For almost the entire game, you will get new equipment that is just all around better than the rest of yours for a little more cash. This leaves you with a plethora of useless gear to scroll through every time you want to upgrade your Wanzers. The reason this gets so tedious is that each Wanzer has 10 parts to customize. You multiply this by the 11 units you usually take into battle, and you have 110 parts to customize between each mission. Yeah. Anyway, other than that, there's the arena where you can fight to win money and a small amount of experience. Arena enemies give you a fraction of the experience gained from fighting in an actual mission, so the game kind of encourages you to just play through the game rather than grind. Battles play out much like in the missions and one-on-one duels until one is defeated, whereas the missions normally allow one action then back to the map. Front missions combat plays out in a weapons triangle that it doesn't explain. It's similar to the Fire Emblem series, however, which action wins the first strike. Short-range weapons beat melee, melee beats long, and long beats short. This becomes imperative to utilize because oftentimes that first strike can be the difference in the destruction of a part. Speaking of parts, your Wanzers have 4 main ones, each with their own individual HP, defense, and etc. Once these parts are destroyed in a mission, the only way to get them back is to wait a turn next to your supply truck, after which the part will return with 1 HP. This is also not explained in the game. Then the only way to get to full health is to use a repair item. Same destruction can be applied to your opponents, however, allowing for tactical targeting that rewards you with experience for the part's destruction. Experience is applied to 4 categories based on the actions you take. After adding about 100 XP or so to a category, it breaks a threshold and adds 1 point of damage to that category or defense if it's dodge. Once the character's general XP reaches a threshold, the character gains a level. Some stat increases based on the character, and a chance to gain a skill are your reward. Skills can potentially more than double damage capabilities for your characters. A skill has a chance to activate randomly when using their corresponding actions. A skill has a chance to level up after every use. The percentage of a skill activation increases with each level. There's a lot that can be left up to chance in front mission. However, the system allows for a lot of customization, allowing you to build any character how you want. You want to make your meek long-range missile character a in-your-face melee brawler? You can, and the skills they learn will reflect their playstyle. However, the characters tend to fall into one of 3 builds depending on your play. The heavy armored melee bruiser, the medium to heavy armor short range user, and the light armored long range user. Melee characters normally go in first, with short-range users helping to hold the line. Long-range specialists normally just hang back and lob missiles from a distance, and throw an item or two when they get low on missiles. You will probably want a rocket launcher on all of your characters just so they can get extra hits in from a distance. Especially since oftentimes the game cramps you into a single tile where only one of your many short-range characters can fit. The rest will oftentimes have to pelt the enemies from afar, or support the characters on the front line with items. The 3 main items I used throughout the game were Chafe, Flash, and Repair Kits. Chafe deters missile attacks for 1 turn on a single character, while Flash stuns an enemy, making them unable to counterattack until they lose their status. And Repair Kits heal one of your 4 parts on your Wanzer. You can only heal the Wanzer that you are operating. You aren't able to heal allies. Oftentimes, if you don't heal between direct attacks, your parts will be destroyed, if not one-shotted. The 4 parts have different effects when destroyed. Core destruction results in unit loss. No permanent death here, just a negligible repair cost. Arm destruction results in a loss of a weapon capability for the corresponding arm, and destruction of the legs results in greatly lowered mobility. Speaking of mobility, terrain and leg type play a major role in this game. Depending on the terrain, the cost to move on it may vary, each favoring a certain leg part type. A jungle tile may have a movement cost of 5 for a track type leg part, but only a cost of 3 for a bipedal leg part. Also, each leg part has a unique amount of mobility, weight, and vertical jump. Height plays a major role in this game. If an enemy is over a certain elevation from you, the only way to attack the enemy is with a missile. Also, if you have track type legs, you can only climb the smallest of rises. This can render your units useless in some missions if you have them outfitted with track types. What I found useful was paying attention to the mission briefing and restarting the mission after I saw the map, then focus on my Wanzer setup. This can be rather tiresome to deal with, but it also makes each mission unique. Missions take you to dense jungles, bustling cities, abandoned warehouses, deserts, rivers, factories, ports. The mission environment offer plenty of variety, but the actual mission objective is the usual: kill all the enemies for about 70-80% of the game, with just enough variations to keep it interesting. Usually you'll be pitting 8 to 11 units of your own against a larger enemy force, sometimes with mobile weapons for bosses. Mobile weapons are massive mechs in the game with some truly interesting designs and boatloads of firepower. As cool as it was to fight against these mechs, most only had close range abilities, allowing you to unleash a salvo of missiles on them with no consequence. I felt this was cheap myself, so I sent my ultimate powerhouse to duel the monstrosity mano a mano, and then Royd got one shot. And this is one of those games where if he dies, you had to restart the mission. Needless to say, next time I pelted that mother lover with every missile I had. I wish this was an isolated incident, but similar cases persist throughout the game, even to the final battle. Even if the mobile weapons closed in on you, you could just hit it with a flash item, allowing you to pummel away for a few turns. There was a few missions that got tricky, but it seemed as long as you kept most of your Wanzer parts up to date and items stocked, the game was pretty easy. Front Mission is not a very well explained game with a lot of detail to pay attention to. However, the actual gameplay itself is simple and enjoyable to pick up and play. Front Mission is a good strategy RPG that's kind of bogged down in the details and held back from greatness by a few shortcomings. However, if you're looking for a solid mech game, or maybe just a good strategy RPG with lots of customization, this is a competent entry in the series, earning it a 7 out of 10 rating. Oh, did I mention that you get access to the mobile weapons on New Game Plus? Yeah, I'll be busy for a bit. Steamroll, baby!